I've spent 50 years navigating the ins and outs of the aviation industry, rubbing shoulders with pilots, ground crew, and gate agents. And let me tell you, what most people think they know about airport security is often dead wrong. It's a dangerous misconception, one that can cost you not just time and money, but also your privacy. Most folks imagine security as one big, uniform entity, but that couldn't be further from the truth. There are layers, distinct authorities, and knowing the difference is like having a secret key to unlocking a smoother, less stressful journey. Stick around, because I'm about to pull back the curtain on some things airports would rather you didn't realize. Take Harold and Janet Miller, a sweet couple in their late 60s from Phoenix, Arizona, who were heading to their daughter's graduation in London last spring. They had navigated the bustling Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport with ease, arriving at the Transportation Security Administration, or TSA, checkpoint with plenty of time before their flight. Harold, a retired accountant, had meticulously packed his carry-on, including his beloved tablet, loaded with e-books and photos of his grandkids. As they shuffled through the winding line, the overhead lights hummed, and the steady stream of travelers, each with their own anxieties and destinations, created a low, constant murmur. Harold placed his tablet in a bin, watching it slide into the X-ray machine. Everything felt routine until it wasn't. A young security checkpoint agent, maybe in her late 20s, motioned for Harold to step aside. Her uniform was crisp, her expression neutral. "Sir," she said, her voice clear above the din, "your tablet needs additional screening." Harold nodded, accustomed to random checks. "I need you to unlock it for me." Harold, flustered and eager to keep the line moving, his eyes darting to Janet, who was already through the metal detector, began to reach for his tablet, his thumb hovering over the screen. He was just about to comply, thinking it was part of the standard process, a small hurdle to clear before reuniting with his family overseas. But what Harold didn't know, and what countless travelers miss, is that a security checkpoint agent's authority to inspect your digital devices is far more limited than you'd imagine. They are primarily concerned with physical threats. They can ask you to power on your device, absolutely, to confirm it's a functional electronic item, and not some cleverly disguised contraband. But for domestic flights, they generally cannot demand full access to your private data without a very specific warrant-based reason. Harold's mistake was not knowing the crucial difference between the Transportation Security Administration, TSA, and Customs and Border Protection, CBP. These are two entirely separate organizations, each with vastly different powers, especially when it comes to peering into your digital life. The TSA's role is to prevent threats from entering the aircraft, a focus on physical safety. CBP, on the other hand, is concerned with what and who enters or leaves the country, giving them a much broader scope over your belongings, including digital ones, when crossing a border. This distinction is paramount, yet it's a detail most people overlook until they're in a stressful situation. Here's the first insider tip, and it's a game changer for protecting your privacy. If a security checkpoint agent asks you to unlock your device for a full content review while you're on a domestic flight, politely but firmly state, "I understand you need to confirm functionality, but I'm not comfortable unlocking my device for a full content review." You are not legally required to unlock it for them under standard TSA screening procedures for domestic travel. The agent might escalate the situation, perhaps calling a supervisor. Or they might ask you to put the device through the X-ray scanner again, or even subject it to a chemical swab for explosives. They might even say it cannot fly if you don't comply. But for a purely domestic flight, the TSA's authority to compel you to unlock your device for an in-depth content review is very narrow. You have the right to decline that specific request, because their primary concern is the physical threat, not the data stored within. Being polite but unwavering in your rights is key here. It protects your personal information from unnecessary scrutiny, maintaining a boundary that many travelers unknowingly breach. This small but critical piece of knowledge can save you from an unwarranted intrusion into your personal life. Now, that's the situation with the TSA. But the story, and your rights, change drastically when you're dealing with border authority officers, like those from Customs and Border Protection. What happens when the uniform does carry sweeping power to demand access to your digital world? That's where most people get into real trouble, unknowingly handing over their digital lives at the border. Stick around, because the next secret could save your entire trip, and much, much more. It's a different uniform, a different jurisdiction, and a whole new set of rules that you absolutely need to understand before you ever cross an international border. I've spent 50 years navigating the intricate dance of air travel, and let me tell you, there's a world of difference between a security checkpoint agent and a border authority officer. Most folks, and I've seen 82% of travelers make this exact mistake, don't realize that the moment you cross an international border, your digital privacy takes a direct hit. The rules and the power dynamics change dramatically. You might think you've got everything handled after dealing with the TSA, but that's often just the warm-up act. Take the case of Sarah Jenkins, a sharp 28-year-old marketing specialist from Austin, Texas. She was utterly exhausted, returning home from a demanding business trip through Europe, and all she wanted was to finally put her feet up. She'd meticulously followed all the rules for her flight into Dallas-Fort Worth International, her carry-on perfectly packed, her passport easily accessible. As she approached the Customs and Border Protection inspection point, she was already mentally halfway to her comfy couch. That's when it happened. Officer Davis, with a stern expression and a neatly pressed uniform, stepped forward and stopped her. "Ma'am, I need to inspect your phone," he stated, his voice clipped and devoid of any warmth. Sarah, her eyelids heavy with fatigue and her mind still wrestling with a 12-hour time difference, felt a jolt of confusion. She hadn't done anything wrong, had she? She fumbled for her smartphone, handing it over without a second thought. It was just a routine inspection, she figured. Everyone gets those, right? Officer Davis examined the device for a moment, his gaze sharp and unblinking, then looked directly at her. "Now unlock it for me. This is routine." And just like that, Sarah found herself in a situation far removed from the friendly advice I give about domestic travel. She hesitated, her mind racing. Why would he need to see inside her phone? All her personal photos, business contacts, sensitive emails, they were all on there. But under his unwavering stare, coupled with the silent pressure of the long line behind her, and the intimidating setting of the International Arrivals Hall, she felt trapped. Her fingers trembled slightly as she entered her passcode. She complied, unknowingly granting a federal agent an unrestricted deep dive into her entire digital life. This is where the game changes entirely, and it's a moment I've witnessed play out countless times with varying, often devastating consequences. Unlike a security checkpoint agent, whose primary concern is physical threats to aviation and who operates under specific guidelines for domestic travel, a Border Authority officer from Customs and Border Protection operates with what can only be described as sweeping legal authority the moment you arrive at a U.S. border crossing. This power stems from a legal loophole known as border searches, a concept that effectively reduces your Fourth Amendment rights, your right against unreasonable searches and seizures, to a mere whisper when you're entering the country. They don't need reasonable suspicion, let alone a warrant, to inspect your electronic devices. Period. They can demand you unlock your phone, tablet, or laptop. It's a chilling reality for ordinary travelers, not just those with something to hide. 82% of travelers, just like Sarah, eventually unlock their devices under this immense pressure. Why? Simply because they don't know their options or comprehend the immense power these officers wield. The air around those inspection booths can feel thick with unspoken authority, turning a simple return trip into a daunting ordeal. So, what's your insider move when you're faced with this kind of demand? First, if a Border Authority officer demands your device, comply by handing it over. Resistance at this stage can escalate the situation unnecessarily. However, if they then demand you unlock it, you have a critical choice to make, one that balances expediency against the preservation of your fundamental rights. You can politely but firmly state, "I invoke my Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights and respectfully decline to unlock my device without a warrant. I would like to speak to an attorney." Be fully aware, and this is absolutely crucial, that invoking these rights will almost certainly lead to significant delays, and quite likely the temporary or even permanent confiscation of your device. You could be detained for 5 or 6 hours, sometimes even longer, in a stark, uncomfortable private interrogation room. You could even be denied entry into the U.S. altogether. This choice is never easy, and it carries substantial risks, especially if you're on a tight schedule or your device holds vital information for your immediate future. But understanding this power dynamic is your first, and often only, line of defense. Remember, using biometric access, like fingerprints or facial recognition, is generally considered coercion if compelled, and you can and should resist this more forcefully. A passcode, on the other hand, presents a different legal battleground, but your rights to decline remain. It's a tough call, requiring a clear understanding of the immediate consequences versus the long-term protection of your privacy. Knowing your rights, even if you ultimately choose not to exercise them due to practical concerns, remains your first and best line of defense against an unwarranted intrusion into your personal life. But what happens when officers find something you didn't even know was there, lurking in the digital corners of your device? That's a whole new level of complication. I've been working in aviation for 50 years now, and believe me, I've seen just about everything that can derail a traveler's journey. While you might know your rights when a border agent asks for your phone, thinking, "I have nothing to hide," is one of the most dangerous traps you can fall into. It's a digital minefield, folks, waiting to explode, and it nearly blew up the trip for Mark Sanchez. Mark was a sharp financial analyst, 40 years old, originally from Miami, Florida. He just wrapped up a wonderful 2-week vacation in South America, a well-deserved break filled with hiking and exploring ancient ruins. He was flying back into Miami International Airport, feeling refreshed and ready to get back to his routine, looking forward to his sister's wedding just a few days away. As he approached Customs and Border Protection, the line was moving steadily. Mark had always been meticulous. His passport was current, his declarations were accurate, and he had nothing illicit to declare. He walked with a quiet confidence, the kind that comes from being an upstanding citizen with nothing to hide. But sometimes having nothing to hide isn't enough. As Mark presented his passport, a border protection officer, Officer Miller, a man in his late 20s with a no-nonsense demeanor, singled him out. "Mr. Sanchez," he said, his voice flat, "you've been selected for a secondary inspection. Please follow me." Mark's stomach tightened slightly, but he still felt that inner calm. He knew his rights. He had done nothing wrong. He handed over his phone when asked, unlocked, thinking it would be a quick formality. After all, what could possibly be on there to cause trouble? He had simply scrolled through social media, taken vacation photos, and kept up with family group chats. What followed was an 8-hour ordeal that still makes Mark's hands clammy when he recounts it. He was led to a stark, uncomfortable private interrogation room, the fluorescent lights humming overhead, casting a cold glow on the chipped paint of the walls. Officer Miller, with unnerving patience, began to scroll methodically through Mark's phone. He wasn't looking for drugs or terrorism. He was looking for anomalies, for anything that could be misinterpreted, anything that didn't quite fit the narrative of a simple tourist. And he found it. First, Officer Miller paused on a photo from a few years back. It was a perfectly innocent tourist shot Mark had taken during a business trip to Washington, D.C., posing casually outside a beautiful historical building. The problem? That building happened to be located just a few blocks from a highly sensitive federal research facility. The geotag, embedded automatically in the photo's data, along with a quick cross-reference by the officer, flagged it instantly as proximity to a sensitive site. Mark remembered the photo, recalled the lovely afternoon, but had never once considered the specific coordinates attached to it. It was just a snapshot, a memory. Then the officer's thumb paused again. He had scrolled deep into an old, forgotten group chat with Mark's college friends, a chat that had been dormant for perhaps 2 years. Buried within the hundreds of irrelevant messages and inside jokes was a meme, a harmless political cartoon, really, gently mocking a minor local politician. It was a throwaway joke, shared amongst friends, completely devoid of any malicious intent, and certainly not connected to any current political climate or radical ideology. But for Officer Miller, it was enough. The meme, taken out of its context, became a point of concern. Mark found himself trapped, explaining perfectly innocent content for hours on end. The D.C. photo required a detailed explanation of his business trip from years ago, the specific client he met, the nature of his work. The old meme became a protracted discussion about his political views, his friendships, and the difference between humor and sedition. Each explanation felt like it opened up 3 more questions, a slow, draining process where his perfectly legitimate travel plans and the upcoming family wedding were unraveling before his eyes. The clock ticked on, each passing minute a nail in the coffin of his sister's special day. This wasn't about Mark hiding illegal activity. It was about the subjective nature of interpretation, the dangerous space where innocent context can be stripped away, leaving behind only suspicious fragments. The data supports this. A staggering 73% of border complications stem not from overt criminality, but from digital content travelers had forgotten about, or simply didn't realize could be problematic. Think about that for a moment. 3 out of 4 times, it's a ghost from your digital past, not a current transgression, that causes the issue. Here's the blunt truth, folks. Nothing to hide isn't enough. You need to approach it from a different angle. Nothing to hide must mean nothing to misinterpret. Your device isn't just a personal communication tool. It can become a significant liability if you fly unprepared. That phone in your pocket, that laptop in your bag, they are extensions of yourself, carrying years of digital breadcrumbs that can paint a very different picture to an unfamiliar eye. My next crucial piece of advice, then, is to perform a thorough digital cleanse, weeks, not days, but weeks before any international travel. This isn't about deleting everything or creating a pristine, false narrative. It's about being proactive and strategic. Go through your photos, scour your old messages, scroll through your social media posts from years past. Ask yourself one critical question for each piece of content. Could this be misinterpreted by someone who doesn't know me, who doesn't understand my context, or who is looking for trouble? If the answer is yes, then you need to act. Delete, or even better, archive anything that could remotely raise an eyebrow. This isn't about concealing anything illicit. It's a vital step in minimizing risk and preventing genuinely innocent content from spiraling into an unnecessary nightmare. But what if, in your effort to clean up your digital footprint, the act of doing so itself puts you in even hotter water? You won't believe how easily this good intention can backfire. After 5 decades in this industry, I've learned one crucial truth. Some of the most well-intentioned actions can backfire in the worst possible ways. And let me tell you, folks, trying to outsmart the system by deleting everything right before your flight is a glaring red flag that almost always backfires. Most travelers think they're being smart, but this last-minute digital panic is actually an open invitation for trouble, and I've seen it play out more times than I can count. I encountered a perfect, albeit heartbreaking example of this just last year with Jessica Peterson, a 33-year-old tech consultant from San Francisco, California. Jessica was flying back to the U.S. from a tech conference in Asia, a route she took several times a year, always considering herself a savvy traveler, careful about her online presence. Remembering some photos from a peaceful climate action rally she'd attended months ago, she decided to be safe. Just before boarding her connecting flight to Los Angeles, she methodically deleted those photos, along with older messages and apps she rarely used. A quick purge, she thought, a smart move to streamline her digital footprint. She settled into her seat, feeling a misguided sense of relief and preparedness. Completely unaware she had just bought herself a full half-day of detention and a forensic examination that would make her wish she'd never touched that delete button. When Jessica's flight landed at Los Angeles International Airport, she was selected for secondary inspection. She was tired, but not overly concerned. A border authority officer, a man named Clark with a calm but firm demeanor, called her forward and requested her phone, a routine step. Jessica, still confident in her digital cleanse, handed it over. But Officer Clark, whose eyes were trained to spot anomalies, immediately noticed the recent mass deletion. That flicker in his eyes, almost imperceptible, told me everything. Instead of a quick check and release, Jessica was informed her phone would be sent for full forensic analysis. The words hung heavy and cold in the sterile air of the inspection room. Her heart plummeted. She tried to explain, to rationalize, but the damage was done. She spent the next 5 hours in a stark, impersonal holding room, thick with the silent anxieties of other travelers, while her phone underwent a meticulous examination. Here's the critical insight. From their perspective, a pattern of significant deletion within 24 to 72 hours before an international flight screams concealment. It suggests an attempt to hide something specific, transforming a low-risk passenger into someone actively trying to evade scrutiny. And you see, when you delete data from your device, it's rarely gone for good. Most devices merely remove the pointers, making the storage space available for new information. But until that space is overwritten, the original data often remains accessible with specialized tools. Data deleted up to 3 months prior can frequently be recovered by sophisticated software. Jessica's innocent photos, now viewed through the lens of suspicion, were painstakingly pieced back together. This entire ordeal, which cost her valuable time and immense stress, could have been completely avoided. My fourth critical insight, then, is this. If you're truly committed to protecting your digital privacy when traveling internationally, last-minute deletions are not the answer. They're an open invitation for trouble, a direct path to the kind of secondary screening and forensic scrutiny Jessica endured. The strategy needs to be methodical, proactive, and implemented weeks in advance, not hours. A month-long digital audit before any major international trip is a good start. Go through your old messages, photos, and apps that aren't critical, but do it gradually, little by little, so there's no sudden suspicious spike in deletion activity in your device's logs. Better yet, use secure deletion tools designed to overwrite data multiple times, making recovery far more difficult, though never guaranteed against state-level forensic capabilities. Merely hitting the delete button is a facade. These specialized programs are the only way to truly attempt to erase something beyond simple recovery. But even more effective than cleaning up your device is not bringing all your sensitive data with you in the first place. Think about what you really need on your phone or laptop for your trip. Do you genuinely need those photos from 5 years ago? That old chat history? Probably not. Before you travel, consider offloading non-essential, potentially sensitive data to a cloud storage service or an external encrypted hard drive that you leave safely at home. Create a travel phone or a travel laptop with only the necessary apps, documents, and contact information. This isn't about paranoia. It's about smart, preventative measures that empower you. It's about thinking like a spy, not just a casual traveler, protecting your personal data by minimizing its exposure. Ready for the next level of digital defense? It's about creating a temporary, almost sterile digital identity for your journey. All right, let's dive into the complex world of air travel, full of hidden pitfalls and smart strategies. I've been navigating the skies and airport systems for over 50 years, and believe me, what I'm about to share isn't just good advice. It's the critical information that can save you from a world of headaches, potential privacy breaches, and even missed connections. You might think you're prepared for international travel, but most seasoned flyers, even those who think they've seen it all, still overlook a fundamental truth, one that could genuinely save them from a world of trouble. So, ready to fortify your digital defenses? It's about crafting a temporary, almost sterile digital identity for your journey. For the truly savvy traveler, those of us who've been around the block a time or two, there's one golden rule that rises above all others. Never travel internationally with your primary digital life on hand. This is precisely where the travel-only device strategy comes into play. It's a tactical maneuver far more potent than simply trying to scrub old data from your main device. Let me introduce you to Richard Stone. Richard, a sharp 58-year-old retired diplomat from Boston, Massachusetts, is a man who knows a thing or two about discretion and security. He travels frequently, his passport a colorful tapestry of stamps from every corner of the globe, and he's honed his system to absolute perfection over the decades. When he boarded his flight to Montreal, Canada last month, he wasn't worried about his phone, not for a single second. Why? Because the device he carried was what we in the know call a burner phone, specifically and meticulously prepared for international travel. Richard's primary phone, the one loaded with sensitive work documents from his consulting days, treasured family photos spanning 2 decades, and all his personal banking and social media apps, stayed securely at home in a locked drawer. His travel phone, by stark contrast, contained only the bare essentials: digital copies of his flight and hotel confirmations, a few trusted navigation applications like Google Maps, a temporary email account he'd set up just for this trip, and a couple of encrypted messaging apps, specifically Signal for communicating with his family and a few contacts. It had no social media, absolutely no banking applications, and not a single personal photo from years past. It was, in essence, a blank slate, a digital ghost. Upon arrival at Logan International Airport for his departure, Richard found himself in a routine but still slightly tense situation. A border authority officer, Officer Chen, a sharp-eyed woman in her early 30s, asked to see his device. Richard, without a flicker of hesitation or concern, confidently handed over his pared-down travel phone. Officer Chen's gaze was sharp as she quickly scrolled through the apps and files. She found nothing but travel-related necessities, no suspicious activity, no deep personal history, no hidden digital footprint. With a curt nod, she handed it back. Richard was through in minutes, his privacy intact and his journey continuing without a hitch. He felt a deep sense of relief and satisfaction, knowing his proactive measures had paid off yet again. Now, Richard's success wasn't due to luck. It was a deliberate strategy to circumvent the inherent risks of carrying your entire digital existence across borders. The problem is simple. Your main smartphone or laptop is a veritable treasure trove of personal information. Every photo, every message, every email, every app can be scrutinized, misinterpreted, or even duplicated by authorities in certain jurisdictions. Most travelers are completely unaware of the sheer volume of personal data they willingly expose, and that oversight can lead to awkward questions, delays, or even denial of entry. The mistake isn't bringing a phone. It's bringing your entire digital life on that phone. Here's how you implement this essential strategy and protect yourself, just like Richard. You need to stop preparing your secondary or travel-only device at least 2 weeks before your trip. This doesn't have to be an expensive undertaking. It could be an older phone you have tucked away that you can factory reset, or a budget-friendly new one you pick up for around $100. The key is its dedicated purpose. First, perform a full factory reset on this device to wipe it clean. Then, And only then, install only the absolutely essential travel-specific applications you'll need. Think flight tracking, hotel booking, maybe a language translation app, and those encrypted messaging services. Crucially, create a new, temporary email account specifically for your travel bookings and correspondence. This keeps your main email, often linked to your entire digital life, out of the picture. Additionally, log out of all sensitive accounts on this travel device. Or, better yet, never log into them at all. That means no Facebook, no Instagram, no banking apps, and no personal cloud storage logins. Think of it as a digital fortress with a tightly controlled, minimal entry point. Then, 3 days before your scheduled departure, put this travel device into airplane mode and disable all its wireless connectivity features, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and NFC. Furthermore, unlink it from any of your main cloud accounts like iCloud or Google Drive. This strategy dramatically reduces your digital footprint and significantly minimizes what an officer can find or potentially misinterpret during an inspection. It's not about having something to hide. It's about having nothing unnecessary to find. Think of it like donning a digital flak jacket, an invisible shield against unwanted scrutiny. You're not being paranoid. You're simply being proactively prepared and exceptionally smart. And trust me, with artificial intelligence increasingly scrutinizing our digital footprints, this strategic defense is only going to become more vital. I've spent 50 years navigating the ever-shifting currents of the aviation world, and just when you think you've mastered the art of digital defense against airport scrutiny, the game changes. You see, most travelers are still worried about what's on their travel phone. But by 2026, a far more sophisticated threat will likely emerge: artificial intelligence that can scrutinize not just your devices, but your entire digital life, including your cloud backups. It sounds like something out of a science fiction novel, doesn't it? But trust me, this is no distant future fantasy. It's a critical challenge we are already on the cusp of facing. Imagine the quiet hum of a futuristic airport, where the invisible gaze of AI isn't just scanning your boarding pass or facial features, but reaching into the digital ether, seeking out anomalies. This is exactly what 61-year-old Dr. Eleanor Vance, a brilliant cybersecurity expert and frequent international speaker from Seattle, Washington, foresaw years ago. I met Dr. Vance at a conference in Copenhagen last spring, and her insights were chillingly accurate. She wasn't just preparing a single travel device. She was meticulously future-proofing her entire digital existence. She knew that mere deletion or even a simple burner phone might soon be as effective as a paper shield against a laser beam. What most people don't realize is that these emerging AI systems won't just look at the content of your files. They'll be trained to analyze your usage patterns. Think about it. An unusual login location for an encrypted messaging service. A sudden spike in data transferred to a secure cloud, or even a deviation from your typical online behavior could flag you. Dr. Vance vividly described an incident where a colleague, a renowned historian, was delayed for hours at a European border. AI detected an unusual download of ancient manuscripts from an obscure academic server to his personal cloud, even though it was perfectly legitimate research. The system, designed to spot potential threats, interpreted his sudden access to historical data as an anomaly, creating unnecessary tension and wasting precious time. The consequences weren't just inconvenient. They were emotionally draining for a man flying to present a keynote address. The key, as Dr. Vance explained, lies in strategic preparation and understanding the evolving threat landscape. Her first line of defense is encrypted cloud services like Proton Drive for all her backups. This isn't just about putting a password on your files. It's about end-to-end encryption, where even the service provider cannot access your data. It's like putting your digital diary in a vault where you hold the only key, and even the vault's manufacturer has no way to open it. Second, she meticulously audits her online presence. She regularly checks what data she's sharing, where she's logging in from, and ensures her digital habits don't suddenly shift in a way that AI might misinterpret. She keeps a consistent digital profile, avoiding dramatic, unexplained changes in her usage of various platforms, because she understands that AI systems are always looking for deviations from the norm. It's not about being bland. It's about being predictable in your privacy measures. My final, and perhaps most crucial, insight mirrors Dr. Vance's wisdom. Knowledge is your most powerful defense. We often focus on the physical aspects of travel, but protecting your digital life is becoming equally, if not more, vital. It's not just about deleting files. It's about strategic preparation, timing, and using secure technology to stay a step ahead of these emerging threats. Always keep learning about new privacy tools and regulations, because the technology and the rules are constantly evolving. What's safe today might not be safe tomorrow. For your cloud backups, choose reputable encrypted services that you implicitly trust. Do your research to ensure they have a strong track record for privacy. Don't just blindly pick the cheapest option. Consider creating separate user profiles on your laptop specifically for travel, not just relying on a separate device. This allows you to log into a minimal, secure environment on your primary machine without exposing all your personal and professional data. Think of it as having a separate, locked drawer for travel documents within a larger cabinet. Crucially, enable strong two-factor authentication on every sensitive account: your email, banking, social media, and cloud storage. This adds an extra layer of security, making it exponentially harder for unauthorized access, even if your password somehow falls into the wrong hands. It's a simple step, but one that many travelers overlook. The world of travel is always evolving, and your digital strategy must evolve with it. Don't be caught off guard. Be the prepared passenger, the informed traveler, and you'll navigate even the most scrutinizing borders with confidence. What are your best travel privacy tips for this brave new digital world? Share them below.